Okay.
Hello, everyone. It's Lindsay Landry, and today I'm here with one of my friends and soul sisters, Michelle Wolff. And we're going to be talking all about how to stay centered and in your power during the holiday season. So, we are already mid October. We have Halloween coming up, and then Thanksgiving is going to be right around the corner, and then the whole Christmas and New Year's center season. And, this can be a super stressful time for anybody, right? It can be
Right.
stressful
Yes.
for everyone,
Yeah.
um, with family, food, parties, festivities, and then you also
Mhm.
include money in the mix. So it can start
For
to go
sure.
really stressful. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that today and giving you some tips and tools to really manage your energy and also find your center so that you
Mhm.
can get through the holidays with more peace and also really be able to enjoy the holiday season, right? To be able to
Right.
celebrate it and connect back.
Have fun.
Yeah, totally.
They are supposed to be fun.
So, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself first before we dive in? Introduce yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm Michelle Wolff, and I've been working with people for over 20 years now with personal change and transformation. And it's always been centered around um, being centered in choice, how to have a choice, what it means to be grounded, and what it means to be in the body and clear and choosing for yourself. So everything I do always circles back to being steady in the sense of personal power and having choices and freedom.
Totally.
It's like, yeah.
And I'm just going to add a little bit to that.
Okay. A little too
So,
short.
Michelle used to be
I
a
do some stuff.
therapist and she worked in therapy for years. And now she's an amazing healer and life coach. And she's one of my personal go tos. So, anytime I'm needing energetic support, she's one of the people that I feel super safe with and comfortable with. Um, and she has this ability to really get to the core of energetic issues and really help you ground into that. And this is powerful because when we're just working the edges, then it's like we're just kind of getting to the symptoms. But the work she
Mhm.
does and what we're going to be talking about today is really getting to the core. And when you change that, then it's like your food patterns, your relationship, the
Yeah.
way you feel about your body, all of those things start to shift into.
Yes. All the outer stuff. When you fix the inner, or not even, I don't even like the word fix, but when you get into your center and learn what's in there and clear everyone else's energy out of your system so that you know who you are, then you can choose. And all the details of all the things just sort of take care of themselves because you have the ability to use the tools that you either already have or will have.
Totally.
So I like going to the bottom.
Yeah, so I want to just start by talking a little bit about some of navigating the holidays as a empath, heart-centered woman or an intuitive because I
Mhm.
know for me before I even knew that I was sensitive, like this was like a huge holidays were always like I don't even think I knew how stressful it was for me, but like looking back, I would always get sick.
Yeah.
Um, so that was like one of the ways it showed up for me, like with food for sure. And then I would always get sick. So I grew up in a separate family and I can remember Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Mm.
Anytime we have those big family gatherings, then I was like, I'd get the flu or something like that. So I don't know if there's
Yeah.
anything you want to say or talk about in regards to that.
Yeah, I think the holidays are stressful for just anybody. And I also think we have far more empaths and sensitives and highly sensitive people, intuitive people than we realize. Like you said, you weren't even sure why you would get sick every holiday season, and I think that's true. Um, what happens during holidays that's different from the rest of the year is there's a lot of demands on you. And if you're expected to do certain things, you're expected to spend money on things, you're expected to go more places, you're expected to eat foods that you might not normally eat in your daily life. And so there's all, for a sensitive person, that can feel like either a whole lot of pulling, like being pulled in a bunch of different directions, or it can feel conversely like almost like an attack, like this energy coming in that can be feel unbearable. And so we can attack back, or we can get withdrawn and just avoid everyone and everything, which typically doesn't work. And then you get into the pulling of your mom is like, why aren't you going to Aunt Edna's for Thanksgiving? Like, because I can't bear it, but you don't understand why that's happening. And so and then we have a tendency to then act like a sponge at these gatherings. And even just thinking about all our family can create this sponge like effect where we're sort of soaking up everyone else's tension. So if you're not used to going to big family gatherings, and by big, even 5 people can feel big if you're sensitive. Um, you sort of soak up everyone else's tension. If and it's on such a subconscious level, and then your system gets literally full of your own stress, other people's stress, and then you can't get clear on, oh, I said I wasn't going to eat all that sugar because it makes me sick. You're just mindlessly eating in an attempt to get grounded and feel solid in this whirlwind of energy going on. So I think all of that then leads to spending too much money, eating too many foods, agreeing to too many parties, and losing your mind kind of around the holidays, and then getting sick, or getting to January and having like a breakdown because you're so exhausted and so stuffed with food and things, but also other people's energies. It's an extra layer of tough.
Totally. And I can remember too, like, it is like that, maxed out capacity, because then there's like the
Mm-hmm.
emotional relationship pieces, right? So
Yes.
um stuff would come up with my mom, so like we would end up getting into
Yeah.
an argument or whatever, or maybe with my boyfriend, right? Whose house are we going to go
Yes.
to?
Everyone's snarking at each other and biting and snapping, and it just really doesn't have to be that way. Those are those are the ways we try to maintain our boundaries. We push at each other, like, I'm overwhelmed, so get the heck away from me. Or, I feel you demanding on me and I can't handle it, so I'm going to push back, or I'm just going to disappear.
Mm,
That's my favorite one to do, is just disappear.
totally.
So, and it's all appropriate because it's all you know. So it's not like a bad thing. It's just the only way to maintain a sense of integrity in your system.
Yeah, and I feel like you know so for me, so even as I started my business, and I was trusting my intuition more, right? So I was already doing
Yeah.
intuitive work with clients, I was doing energy work, and I noticed there were still layers of stress around the holidays. And as I
Mhm.
expanded in my business and was trying to get my business off the ground, some of the layers that would come up for me was around not wanting people to ask me how I was doing in my business.
Yes.
Like that felt like so awful to me
Yeah.
because I wasn't feeling confident in where I was, or you know even the amount of money that I was bringing in, right? So I didn't feel like
Right.
I really didn't have enough money to like buy huge gifts for everyone. So
Yeah.
I did like homemade stuff and did what I could, right? But um
Mm.
there were so many layers of emotion and really so much energy around just participating period in the
Mhm.
holidays. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to speak to that at all, because I think even once we know how to trust our intuition, right? And we might feel like we are self-aware and we're doing inner work, but it still can be a huge, huge trigger point.
It really is. And another question people will get asked is, well, are you dating anyone? And that can be really painful. Or when you two going to have kids? Like, there's just all kinds of questions that people ask. Just, I mean, very rarely does it have a malicious intent. Sometimes it does, but it's just conversations that you just don't want to have. And when you're feeling grounded and confident in yourself as who you are, those questions don't bother you so much, or you're able to deflect them and change the subject. But one thing that happens, or another piece of things falling apart around the holidays, is even if people have a daily practice of meditation or journaling or maybe doing a little reading in the morning, that's almost always the first thing to go out the window when our schedules change.
Mhm.
And then we also don't realize that the minute we think a stressful thought of, like, oh my God, grandma's going to want me to eat the cherry pie and it's going to make me sick, and what am I going to do? And it's going to be a thing. Like, even simple things like that, we immediately start to shallow breathe from this, our upper chest, which then triggers all this biology of um, freeze, fight, flight. All these things start to happen in our brain. And so, having that, having a system in place as we go through the holidays of remembering to do your daily work, or finding a way or learning a way to do 5 minutes of centering practice in the morning, and maybe 30 seconds before you go into a party or before you go into a holiday thing, or the mall, really scary places like shopping malls. So remembering to do that and being prompted to do the things you already do that keep you in touch with your intuition. So we we sort of draw the curtain over our skills under stress, and when, or even just schedule changes. So the holiday changes your schedule. Your work schedule may be different. You may be doing a lot of things in the evening that you wouldn't normally do. So it's like this blinder thing comes down, and we suddenly forget all the tools that we have. And so you have to compensate for that, knowing that it's a normal human behavior, even for people who are well practiced in a daily something that they do to stay grounded. So you build systems in place with a support group, or calendar alarms, or cell phone alarms, or you buddy up with a friend who's also intuitive and sensitive, and be like, okay, let's do holidays different this year, and check in with each other and remind each other. So you're pre-planning and being strategic about how you are going to remember to sit down and breathe or do your yoga or whatever it is. Does that
Yeah,
answer your question?
yeah, I
Yeah.
really love that. And I know for me personally, having those communities to plug into, or
Yeah.
um, having support, I think in the beginning I was, when it really started to shift for me and starting to get to the core of like, oh, okay, I keep getting sick. I was working with a energy healer at that time. And so I could text her and say, um,
Yeah.
this is coming up for me. I need a, there, this family function's coming up. This is what's coming up for me. And we were able to
Right.
like work through it as it was coming forward. Um,
Yes.
and I think there's so much power in that, or even just to be able to name like, I really don't want to go to this thing. So even I know sometimes
Yes.
I would still go,
Right. The
but
permission.
being able to like name, but I really didn't want to go to someone
Yes.
and give myself
And
permission to even speak that, right? Like it
yeah.
started to I think it starts to build your confidence and also your capacity to hear yourself and see yourself like you were talking about in the beginning.
Yeah, it immediately diffuses resistance in your system when you can say, I hate going here to this family thing or whatever every year. I just hate it and I don't want to go and I think it's terrible. And just giving yourself 5 minutes to just say all the crappy things that you want to say, and then really feeling into permission. Like, you really don't have to do a lot of things that you've agreed to do. Even if you've already said yes, you really are able to say no. You really can change your mind. And you might not do them. Like you said, you might still go, because tackling saying no when you haven't been saying no during the holidays is a pretty bad idea.
Yeah.
But just knowing that you can, like, you don't do that. Don't do that to yourself or others. Um, but knowing that you have a choice, just dissipates that thinking of, pushing up against your own needs and other people's needs and your love for other people and your relationships and your desire to have a good time and make people happy, which is, a very strong trait of intuitives and empaths. We really want people to feel good and be happy. And so that pushing and pulling between all of those things is just gone when you give yourself permission to say no and set limits
I
and
love that.
explore options. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of options that people forget that they can use because they've always done it a certain way. So maybe your big family gathering is so stressful and you actually like going, but then you're exhausted for 3 days afterward, which is an introvert issue and an empath issue, that it's just so much and your system's not used to it. You have to go home and sleep for 3 days. Or you eat too much, in that, what we talked about earlier, these dysfunctional attempts to stay grounded and cohesive in your system. But you can look at, there's all different options to still do the family gathering, but shorten the time. Show
Hmm.
up late, leave early. Maybe only talk to, maybe think of 3 people in your head that you're going to really focus in on them and ask them questions about that. The question, those, you could be the uncomfortable question asker instead of always being the one who gets asked, but taking control of it. Like, okay, I'm going to talk to this cousin and that aunt and that uncle, and I'm going to put my focus on them so that I'm not having all the free floating anxiety and stressful thoughts, and taking control of situations that you still need to go to, or if it's a company Christmas party and you have to go, just taking control over how you're there, how long you're there, um, solves like your social obligations, while also protecting your energy, and even deeper, helping you feel like you are still in control, even when we have to do things we don't really want to do and we wouldn't choose to do on a Thursday night. You still have control over the whole event, start to finish.
I love that. I think those are fabulous tips. I would not have thought of like planning out who I was going to talk to, but I can totally
Yeah.
feel the grounding in that, like
Yeah. Have a plan.
yeah, totally. It's like, okay, so then you have the plan and you can focus on that and it can create ease in your system versus like you said, like the anxiety of standing there or not knowing.
It's the not knowing. If you have a plan, part of the stress for empaths and intuitives is going to parties and gatherings is there's that anxiety of not feeling prepared for what's going to happen. And we want that sense of control. And so we don't know who's going to come at us, who's going to ask the questions, what's going to bombard us. It's bombardment sensation. If you have a plan, then you get rid of all that too, because you've already laid it out. And that might change, like maybe your cousin Nancy isn't there that night, so you just shift over and go, okay, who's my third person going to be? Go find the other introvert who's cowering in the corner petting the family dog, and just kind of see yourself as a support for them rather than feeling like you're you're drowning in other people's stuff.
I love that. And so something else that you were saying, which I think is a really powerful thing, and I want to just talk about that a little bit more, is really knowing how to
Sorry about the
tend your
background
energy.
noise.
What?
There's a four-wheeler in the background, so just apologizing for that
Oh,
racket.
I can hear it. Um,
Okay.
but okay, so the tending your energy. So you
Yeah.
we don't have to go super in detail to this, but like maybe just saying a little bit more about the before and after care. Because when you were talking about that, I can relate that to so many different areas. So, like, visiting family or holidays, but also to if I'm doing something in my business, right? So, say I'm launching something or I'm hosting a free challenge or like a free party or something like
Yeah.
that. What I found for myself personally, that before and after care is such a huge thing. So whether it's attending
Yeah.
a family gathering or it's another big function, I
Yeah. When you've been doing a when you have been doing some sort of daily practice, or even if you're just going to start one now before the holidays come, it's an it's even the act of sitting down once a day and looking inward is an intentional act. So it's never letting 24 hours go by without you going, okay, how am I? What am I feeling? What do I need right now? Did I get enough sleep? You're just asking some questions and putting a hand on your stomach and just breathing and being very present with yourself. 5 minutes twice a day. I mean, it sounds like such a little thing, but it is tending your energy zone so that you know how you feel when you're by yourself and everything's fine and you feel content and grounded. You know how you feel. So you have that as an anchor to come back to. Um, and so when you know you have an event coming up, like you said, holidays or whenever, maybe it's just your weekly staff meeting, which can be horrible, you do that centering work before you go in. Even it's so simple that you can run to the bathroom before you have to go to the event and take some deep breaths and go, okay, this is who I am. This is who they are. Here's me, there's them, and just intention is far more powerful than we realize. Just having the intention that I'm going to stay with me throughout this thing. And when I find that I've wandered off and I'm getting lost in other people's stories, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to go to the bathroom maybe, or I'm going to take a drink of water. And every time I take a drink of water, it's going to remind me that, okay, pull in, here's me, here's them, just kind of coaching yourself through it. And then building in, having a strategy, building in a day off, a few hours of empty space
Mhm.
after the event so that you have time to process out anything that came up, because we won't do this perfectly, right? we'll we will sponge stuff up just because it's the nature of who we are, or someone will say something and it will just zing right through our defenses and hurt us. And so we're going to need time to journal or draw or get out in, weather permitting, going to get outside and putting your feet in the grass, your bare feet in the grass, and just giving yourself permission for post party energy tending and post party processing, you could call it that. Just, but going ahead and putting that on the calendar, not just running from, coming home at 11 o'clock from a work party, having to be back at work at 8 o'clock the next day, and then, having something again Friday night, and then comes the weekend and there's this party and that party, or your kids have events. You have to take responsibility. Well, if you want to move through the season on your life in general much more smoothly and calmly, then you've got to put that on the calendar. So you have a work party from 8 to 11, and you've always done it 8 to 11, but this year you've decided you're going to set an alarm, or you're going to have your accountability partner call you so that you leave by 10, so that you get home and you have built in an hour to take a hot bath, or just to be, just to let your thoughts settle, just to let your energy clear out, do some breathing. That's an hour doesn't seem like much, but if you're used to going from thing to thing to thing to thing and then collapsing, 1 hour, even half an hour, can break up that cycle so that you have a chance to refill and clear out um, as you go through. So you're still meeting your obligations, you're just adjusting them with the intention that you're going to give yourselves time and space to process and relax and let it all go. Or let's say let it move through.
Mm-hmm.
If it has to be on the calendar, it won't get done. I mean, let's just face it. If it's
Totally.
not on the schedule, you're not going to do it. So let's just prepare for that.
I totally agree. It's like making it a non-negotiable. Like it's just part of the
Yeah,
process.
right. You're not going to go to a company Christmas party wearing your swimsuit. That would be a non negotiable. You're
Uh-huh.
going to do your makeup. You're going to wear event appropriate clothing. There are things you are absolutely going to do before and after the party. So you just slide this right in there. I'm also going to breathe for 15 minutes. I'm also, after the party, going to take a hot bath or whatever it is that's restorative for you. It might not be bathing, but it might be an hour's worth of binge watching TV, whatever it is. But putting that in there at, as an equal non negotiable as brushing your teeth or not.
What's coming up is also like, so even putting that in as a non-negotiable, like sometimes I know that we can self-sabotage and not do it. Um,
Yeah,
and I was having this conversation with my boyfriend the past couple of days, and he's been cycling again, and he was noticing, on his ride, like his thoughts started about like, oh, I'm tired, like I could just go home. And I think it's really important to just say that, like, sometimes it is uncomfortable. Like, our ego is going to say, like, oh, we don't need to take that space for ourselves. Oh, I'm already too busy.
right.
Oh, I don't have the time. And it's still really a stretch and an exercise to give yourself that space, even though the bug is like agreeing, right? Like,
There's a
let me
bee.
get in your space.
Yes. Bees are all about teamwork, which is what we're talking about, and strategy.
Working hard.
Yes. Um,
So I think
yes.
having the
Yeah.
support again, is really essential during this time, because it's easy when um you know that you've been self-sabotaging and you haven't been doing the things.
Yeah.
Having that community where you can be held and witnessed and supported, I really feel like is essential to changing these energetics.
Yes. Not there's no tool on the planet that will work. All tools will work to some degree. Different tools work better for different people, but there are thousands of tools to take care of yourself. Not a single one of them will work if you will not make the commitment to trying them and building in a support network for a stressful period of time when you're not used to it. Even if you are used to it, building in a support network. Um, but just like him on the cycling, he can bring that home to you and you can support him and then he can support you through getting through the holidays because you make those intentional agreements ahead of time. And the self-sabotaging thing is generally related to us, our natural human tendency to want to maintain status quo. If we're used to running around stressed, then we want to maintain running around stressed, even though that's not logical. But your brain will literally fight you on change, even if it's positive change. So understanding that and making the commitment that you're going to show up somewhere for something once a day, just once a day will make a difference. Twice a day is better, but you will kind of have to, I could just call it grabbing yourself by the scruff of the neck. Like you just kind of grab yourself and say, for the next 6 weeks, I am going to do this thing. And then when you hear the arguing about, well, but I don't want to sit here for 15 minutes and just breathe because that's stupid. And how is that really going to help me if you've never tried it? I don't want to do self treatment. I don't want to. You just pat yourself on the head and acknowledge it. You said it's perfectly earlier. You just name the resistance. I
Mhm.
hear you. And I know, we're not used to this, and it's kind of weird to be jumping off and starting a daily practice in October, but we're just going to do it through the end of the year. We've done hard things before for a few weeks. We're going to do this for a few weeks. And even saying that and naming the resistance, like wanting to go home, turn around and not complete the exercise, not complete your breath work for the day. You just name it. I know that I'm fighting myself on this, and I'm still going to do the work. I don't want to sit here and breathe for 15 minutes, and I want to get to January and feel really good and have all my energy. So I am still going to sit here for
I
15 minutes.
I think that's key, right? Like really having that focus on where you're wanting to go and why you're doing the
Yes.
thing, even though it's uncomfortable in the moment.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So at the beginning, spending some time thinking about how do I want to feel on January 2nd when this is all over? How have I felt in the past, and how do I want to feel? Like if I could design it perfectly and I do everything the way I want to, and I tend my energy and it all works just like it should, what's January 2nd going to look like for me? How am I going to wake up? How am I going to feel? Is my house still going to be clean? Am I going to be carrying 10 extra pounds? Or am I going to feel like I normally do? Good. The house is not, the house is intact. I feel good in my body. Um, I have kept up with my typical tasks for the holiday season, or if I haven't, I have structured in time to catch up laundry or catch up, getting your car cleaned or whatever it is that may have fallen by the wayside. But then that becomes an anchor like, okay, I'm going to do this because on January 2nd, I want to feel good. I want to feel like, yes, I made it through the season and I'm all in one piece and I'm not sick.
Yes, I love it. So, if someone is wanting to dive deeper into this and get some support so that they are where they desire to be in the new year,
Yeah.
do you want to tell us about what you have going on?
I have all the answers. I have created, it's really important to me. It was really important to me to offer this, and I've done 40-day programs before. I have one called Shadow Blessings, and the feedback I get is that it really helps people to know that I'm going to be in the group every day, and so they will show up for themselves. And so I've created a span of 40 days where everything that we've talked about is going to happen. There's a Facebook group, and there will be a daily prompt, a daily something on offering a tool, a recipe, some support, uh, so that there will be an oasis in the holiday. There'll be a safety zone where you can come and name your stuff. You can talk about it. You can say, I've got this thing coming up. I can't remember. Ooh, what am I supposed to do? We're going to create our own hive mind, a safe, quiet place filled with honey that we're just going to take care of each other. And just that, like setting the intention and making a payment, an energy exchange already commits you to a process, knowing that some of your friends are going to be there. If you know me, then knowing that I'm going to be there helps you already start to build in an intention and a commitment. So in that program, we're going to start with going to do Reiki Level 1 attunement. And Reiki is just being attuned, having resonance with universal life force energy. It's a very fast, very simple way to come back to your center, to get a feel for who you are when you do feel good, when you are centered. And the level 1 has a self-treatment pattern of hand movements and intention setting and some breath work So if you do a Reiki self-treatment once a day, you've already got a daily practice. You're already doing some breath work. You're already doing some energy tools. You're already clearing out other people's energy and drawing in extra energy for yourself. It solves, if you only did that for the rest of the season, it would take care of you.
Totally.
But I also want it to be fun and entertaining, and we love new stuff, right? So our brains like new things, which is another way you can get yourself to show up every day. What am I going to learn today? What is the tool today going to be? So you give your brain something new, and it already like triggers a little curiosity, so then you're more likely to show up every day.
And the tools that you're going to be giving them as well really strengthen
Yeah,
Reiki. So it's sort of
yeah,
like they're working together. And I know that I've personally had, you know, people that I attune to Reiki that just by getting their Reiki attunement, patterns that they had where maybe they were struggling with diet, you know, or struggling to
yeah,
do things for themselves, just the Reiki attunement in themselves, that, you know, alone
yeah,
really allowed them to strengthen their capacity to get to know themselves deeper, and those patterns started to fade. You know, it wasn't
yeah.
anything specific, but it was just really opening that channel and opening that portal for their own knowing and their own desires to start to come forward.
Yeah, it really is grounding, and it awakens your own intuitive skills that maybe that you haven't had. It opens up a conduit for self-awareness so that you can feel when you are saying yes, when you really want to say no, so that you can feel when you're reaching for food, but you're actually not hungry. For me, Reiki is like being very, very thirsty and then suddenly having access to all the water you could ever want. It's so
Mhm.
fulfilling and so satisfying. And when you get centered in a fulfilled, satisfied, getting your needs met way on your own, you're far less likely to let other people pull you off of that or pull you away from
Or need like the food or, you know,
that.
whatever
Yeah,
the thing is to try to
going
fill you,
on
because you're getting
spending money.
um,
Yeah.
you're getting nourished from source.
Yeah, nourished is a really good word. It is nourishment. And it's fulfilling nourishment rather than the temporary burst, dopamine burst of spending too much money or eating too much sugar or drinking too much alcohol or
I re- I
um,
remember this is reminding me of this client that I worked with whenever I was still working as a dietitian, and you know, so I worked with food issues, and
yeah,
the reason I converted to energy work was because I was like, okay, there's so much more than diet, right? And
yeah,
I was working with this client, and it was in the beginning when I started to use Reiki as part of my nutrition plans. And
yeah,
we did some root chakra work, and she was really struggling to, you know, she was struggling to stick to her plan. She was doing a pretty good job for the most part,
yeah,
but she wasn't losing any weight. And anyway, so we did some energy work. We did Reiki, and she ended up losing 7 pounds
yeah,
that week. And
yeah,
we tweaked something in her root, and there was like it wasn't even that big of a thing, but she ended up getting this inspiration. She felt like she needed to connect back to her family tree, so she made a family tree, and she did like this art project. You know, her intuition opened. She got the guidance of what she needed to do, and then it allowed her to lose the 7 pounds.
yes. It's so much more than the food or the money in the bank or whatever it is. It's so much more than that. And your system knows what you need. I don't know what you need. So let's open up the pathway for your own system, your own body, your own intuition and knowing to give you that impulse to move toward what might not make sense, that's going to solve your problem. Like she didn't know that making a family tree was going to actually help her achieve a goal that from the surface level you could say, well, she's self-sabotaging. But actually there were some things that needed to be tended, and her intuition helped her complete the goal without ever even trying, just by
Mhm.
following the intuition on the simplest things. Yeah, it's huge. I had people last year lose weight during the holidays, and I had another client who, when faced with a tray full of things that she would normally like eat the whole tray and then ask for more and then be sick, she ate one and threw the rest in the trash. Like, if you have a food thing, to tip over a whole plate of food that you really enjoy it and just put it in the trash, and not like, ooh, I'm gonna make myself put it in the trash. No, it's just like she ate one and then she was like, yeah, I don't want these. Nobody else is going to eat them. Off in the trash they went. To me, that is dramatic connection with what you truly, truly need. I don't know what's better than that.
Nothing.
Nothing.
It's
Nothing.
like the best Christmas gift you can give yourself, right?
Yes, yes. And I really want this to be a gift that people give themselves. Buy yourself something for Christmas. It's $97 for 40 days. It breaks down to $2.42 a day. That's a cup of coffee.
And most Reiki attunements alone are more
Oh,
than that.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, they're hundreds. Yeah, and I should say too that if people want to have a certificate that says they're Reiki level certified, there's a little extra work to be done, and people can just get with me on that, or they can just have the attunement and the ability to do self-treatment. We'll talk about it. So that first day will be a good bit longer than the days after that.
yes, beautiful.
Yeah, it's going
So,
to be
if they
fun.
want to learn more about the program, um, where do they go?
They go to thatmichellewolff.com, and it's MICHELLEWOLFF, so two L's, two F's.com/hearth, HEARTH. I wanted, and I will, and it is already being created in my system. I wanted that sense of sitting at the hearth in your home, in front of a fireplace, having good food, feeling that nourishment, that contentment, that sense of cozy, I'm good, I'm okay, everything's fine. I want that space to be that, where you can just come and go, oh yeah, I'm okay, I've got this, I can do this, I'm fine, and I can ask for help when I need it and receive the help back. So I get really happy just thinking about it.
Beautiful.
I'm
I
so
I just
excited.
feel so
I need
calm,
that for me
even
too.
talking to you. Like I can feel the
Yeah,
energy. I feel relaxed. I feel like just grabbing a
yeah.
snuggly blanket and just like wrapping myself up.
Yeah, yeah, we know how to do that for ourselves. We have that power, and so let's utilize it.
So good.
Yeah,
So definitely, ladies, get in her program. It's going to be amazing. You know,
yeah.
any support you can get from Michelle is super nourishing and grounding, powerful.
Thank you.
So, crazy price, $97 for 40 days. Highly recommend jumping in.
Yeah, and it won't take long. So the time commitment every day, if you showed up every day, would be about 10 minutes.
Beautiful.
Long.
Okay, so if you have any questions, I will also post the link um, to her website in the comments. So, like in the YouTube place, you can find it there as well.
Great,
So go ahead and check
great.
it out and sign up. I'm there, and we'll be looking forward to getting through the holidays nice and relaxed, restful,
Yeah,
and inspired, right? Like
yeah,
inspired for the new year rather than feeling depleted and like, oh my God, now I need to like think of how am I gonna get
Well, we've
momentum
lost,
for 2018, like
right,
feeling
that
ready to
saying of
go.
holiday magic, we've lost our connection to holiday magic. Holidays are magical. There's, it's the, there's seasonal changes, there's solstice, there is a lot of magic in the holidays. It can be sparkly and fun. We've just forgotten that. It doesn't have to be awful. It can be a real joy.
Beautiful. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
Thanks for inviting me.
And if anybody has questions, feel free to just comment below. You can tag Michelle, tag me, and we're happy to answer them for you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.